Welcome to Mercenary Media. Stop chewing on your crayons, recruits, and pay attention. Out here, we deal in stories carved from steel, smoke, and battlefield scars. Tales of bounty hunters, ghosts from the Black Ops shadows, lost cities, and the monsters that walk between neon and ash. If you're here for something soft, you took a wrong turn. But if you want high-intensity storytelling, tactical world-building, and characters who survive on grit, instinct, and bad decisions, then fall in line. And one more thing. These videos may contain graphic descriptions of violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Now tighten your gear, square your stance. This transmission is live. I never planned on owning anything I couldn't walk away from in 30 seconds. That rule carried me through war zones, black sites, burned cities, and the kind of missions that never made it into anyone's records. Houses? Those were for people who slept deeply, for people who believed a roof meant safety. Me? I'd learned a long time ago that roofs collapse, floors give way, walls lie. A home isn't protection, it's a liability with plumbing. But a liability starts to look like a necessity when you realize you're heading back into a war. Not the loud kind, not the kind with flags and speeches and casualty reports. The quiet war. The one that never really ended. And at the center of that quiet war was one name, a name that had been haunting every bounty I'd taken since leaving the service. Lysander Hale. You don't prepare for a man like Hale from a rented coffin pod in the lower stacks. You don't go after an L7 Mark while stashing your armor in someone else's locker, keeping your med equipment in someone else's storage bay, and mapping your exit routes around someone else's property line. If I was going to hunt a ghost, I needed walls that belonged to me. If I was going to confront him, I needed a base that wouldn't fold the moment pressure hit. So one gray Avalon morning, credits heavy in my account from Core, Jensen Var, Teague, and Kestrel, I did something I hadn't done since before the Ghost program ever carved its expectations into my bones. I went shopping. Harrow's Forge. The forge was quieter than usual. The sound of grinders and welders was still there, echoing through the metal ribcage of the shop. But it felt distant, like the place was holding its breath. Harrow stood behind her reinforced counter, real eye half-lidded, the mechanical one dialed to a narrow iris, as if even light annoyed her today. "You look worse than my scrap bins," she said by way of greeting. "I heard reactor spine 6B got a little too affectionate." "It's clinging. We broke up." "What's left of you this time?" she asked. I tapped my holoband. Lines of numbers flicked across the inner display. One bounty after another. Core, Var, Teague, Kestrel. Hazard bonuses. Unofficial transfers. All the little zeros that meant people wanted dangerous problems to disappear quietly. Harrow's lips quirked. "Rich man. Gonna retire on a beach dome?" "Beaches are sunny killing fields. No cover." "Then what are you spending all those credits on?" "A house." Her cybernetic eye whirred in confusion. "A what?" "A house," I repeated. "A place with actual walls and a roof that aren't actively trying to collapse. Somewhere I can mount systems and gear without worrying the landlord will sell my front door for scrap." "You hate houses," she said flatly. "I hate being predictable," I corrected. "But Hale is orbiting my hunts. That ends one way, with a confrontation neither of us walks away from clean. When that happens, I'd rather not be operating out of a rented box 2 steps from a sewage leak." Harrow was silent for a moment. Then quietly, "Say his name again." "Hale," I said.
Lysander. Her jaw tightened. You're not exaggerating. He's actually in Avalon. He's been in the shadows of my last 3 drops, watching, talking to some of the targets. He's working something, Harrow. And whatever it is, I'm standing in the middle. Harrow exhaled slowly, mechanical iris widening and shrinking like a heartbeat. You need a nest. I need ground eye control, I replied. She nodded once sharply. Then she opened a comm channel and spoke a single name into the receiver. Rhett. The ghost wants a nest. Rhett Valen, keeper of bad options. The tangle was half empty when I arrived. Rain had driven most patrons deeper into the city's wet concrete stomach, leaving the bar quieter than usual. Quieter meant easier to track threats, which meant I almost enjoyed it. Rhett Valen sat in his usual corner booth, back to the wall, fingers drumming that arrhythmic code of his, half communication, half habit, half warning. He stopped drumming when he saw me. Mercer, the city's favorite contradiction, too dangerous to ignore, too profitable to kill. I thought you were my favorite contradiction, I said. You are, when you're buying drinks. He gestured for me to sit. I slid into the seat. Harrow said, you're looking for real estate, he said. I assumed she was joking. She doesn't waste jokes on me. She wasn't joking. Rhett blinked slowly, then leaned back. You're serious? I am. This have anything to do with the L7 shadow sniffing your contracts? It has everything to do with him. Rhett exhaled through his nose, a rare sign of actual concern from a man who lived in moral gray zones. Well then, he muttered. Let's get you some walls before he walks through the ones you don't have. He placed a small projector on the table and activated it. Blueprints, district overlays, property tags, environmental hazard grids. I pulled options the moment Harrow called. Hunters don't buy houses, Mercer. They buy graves. But you're not the standard model. Show me the candidates. He did. Most were useless. Too open, too exposed, or too tied into city surveillance networks. Then one appeared that made me stop him mid-swipe. That one. Rhett nodded. Knew you'd pick it. He expanded the image. An old logistics node on the western fringe of Avalon, the kind of structure built before the war by people who still believed in over-engineering. Blocky, reinforced, isolated. Perfect.
Westline Logistics, Node 7. Rhett zoomed in on the structure schematics. Old logistics node, he said. 2 floors above ground, 1 sub-basement. Used for fusion core staging before the war. Reinforced walls, overbuilt foundation, a cargo bay that could double as a garage with some elbow grease. The hologram rotated slowly. Even in flickering blue light, the building radiated a kind of stubborn permanence. It wasn't pretty, but it looked like something that wouldn't fall over just because someone breathed too hard. What's the catch? I asked. 3 catches, he said. 1, it's in the Westline industrial verge. Power grids unreliable, water's a suggestion, crime's a hobby. 2, ownership got lost in a corporate shell game 15 years ago. On paper, nobody owns it. In practice, a reclamation clerk and a man who collects district taxes own it spiritually. And the 3rd, Rhett smirked. Squatters. I nodded. That's standard. He brought up the sub-basement schematic. Here's the part that'll make your ghost brain happy, Rhett said. The basement was originally a fusion core buffer zone, reinforced with shielding that laughs at ground-penetrating scans. You could turn it into an armory, panic room, or a secret you'll deny until you're dead. That caught my attention. And utilities? Ventilation still works on backup power. Electricity's intermittent unless you tap directly into the old fusion trunk under the block. Water trickles in unless the district grid sneezes. Neighbors? Just abandoned warehouses, a rust field, and a gang nest nobody cares about. You'll be the most stable structure in a 5-block radius. Good, I said. Good? Rhett asked. Mercer, this building is one bureaucratic shrug away from being condemned. That's perfect, I said. If the city doesn't care about it, then Hale won't get early warning from someone reporting movement there. It's forgotten. Forgotten is safe. Rhett studied me again, expression shifting to something more serious. You really think Hale's coming for you? No, I said. I know he is. Rhett sighed and shut down the projector. I'll handle the paperwork. You go take a look in person. If you hate it, I'll pretend this conversation never happened. I don't hate many things. Only people. And Hale? Rhett asked. What's he to you? Unfinished business. The Western Verge. The public mag tram rattled and hummed its way across Avalon's western districts. The farther it traveled, the more the city thinned out, like it was shedding its skin as we moved. Neon gave way to cracked sodium lights. Crowds thinned to scattered silhouettes. The air grew colder, cleaner in some places, more metallic in others. By the time I stepped off onto a silent, wind-swept platform, I could feel the expanse breathing somewhere beyond the horizon. Node 7 sat at the end of a cracked access road, hunched like a bunker that refused to die. Up close, it had personality. Peeling paint, rusted metal ribs, shattered windows, a collapsed fence more symbolic than useful. A gang tag in bright orange paint covered one of the loading bay doors. Ashline Boys, a crude drawing of a burning rail car beside it. Noise drifted from inside. Shouting, music, the dull thump of someone trying to make a speaker out of broken electronics. Of course, nothing in Avalon stays abandoned for long. If it has a roof and 3 walls, someone claims it. I walked the perimeter first. 3 possible sniper perches overlooked the lot. One had old brass casings scattered around it. Another had fresh cigarette butts. Someone had been watching this building recently. Interesting. The sub-basement hatch was mechanical and still locked. No signs of forced entry. Whatever else squatters did in there, they hadn't gone underground. Good. That space would be mine. I circled back to the loading bay, listening. 6 voices. No, 7. Young. Reckless. More volume than threat. Perfect. Time to meet the neighbors.
The side door was pried open, hinges complaining as I slipped inside. The interior looked like every squatter's clubhouse in Avalon. Broken furniture dragged into circles, crates repurposed as tables, cheap alcohol, synth smoke drifting lazily toward cracked skylights. 7 gang members stopped mid-conversation when they saw me. One, a lanky kid with ash-blonde hair and burn scars on his neck, stepped forward, jaw lifted like he thought he had something to prove. "This is private," he said. "Get lost." "Correct," I replied. "This is private property, but not yours." They laughed. One raised a bottle. "Who says?" "The broker who just filed the reclamation transfer," I said. "This building is in the process of belonging to someone who doesn't appreciate graffiti or squatters."
You a cop? The blonde one asked. If I were, you'd already be face down complaining about cuffs. I stepped further inside. I'm just the man who's going to get annoyed if you're still here in an hour. A girl with a shaved side cut squinted at me. You look like a hunter. Sometimes, I said. Somebody put a bounty on us? The bottle waver asked, suddenly nervous. Not yet, I replied. Keep talking. I can fix that. He stood, but the blonde one placed a hand on his chest. Relax, Pyre. He looked at me again, more carefully this time. You said you have a transfer. That's right. To who? To Horizon Freight Solutions, a shell I front, which means this building becomes my staging ground. You expect us to believe that? The girl snapped. I expect you to check the property feed when the update hits. Rhett Vallon handled the paperwork. That froze them. You work with Rhett? Pyre asked. You know him? I asked. We've fenced scrap through him, Pyre said. He's a bastard, but he pays. That's the nicest thing I've heard about him this month. The blonde one frowned, processing. Even if it's true, he said slowly, we've been keeping this place from getting eaten by worse gangs. We patch leaks, keep water pumping. We're not walking out just because some armored stranger says please. I didn't say please. He scowled. Then what, you gonna shoot us and take a nap on the floor with corpses for pillows? Not my style, I said. I'm here to make an offer. We don't work for hunters, the girl said. I don't need you to work for me. I need you to not work against me. Pyre blinked. What does that even mean? It means, I said, I'll fix this building, patch the holes, stabilize the structure, get the pumps working. In return, you keep people out. You act like this is still your clubhouse, but in reality, you become my eyes on the block. A guard job? The blonde one said cautiously. A very lazy one, I said. You see strangers, internal, corp, hunters, or anyone who looks like they don't belong, you tell me. You don't try to fight them. You don't play hero. Heroes? Pyre repeated, confused. People who die loudly and pointlessly. Don't be one. Silence stretched. Then Pyre muttered something he shouldn't have. You really think you can hold this place if Hale comes back? The room froze. Every eye snapped to him. Idiot, we don't say his name, the blonde one hissed. But he'd already said it. I stepped closer. You've seen him. It wasn't a question. The blonde one swallowed. He came by last week, he said quietly. Walked the perimeter like he was inspecting it. Didn't care that we were here. Didn't even look at us. What did he do? Checked the walls, looked at the garage, stood in the yard and stared at the skyline. Then he walked to the sub-basement hatch, ran a hand along it. He shivered and laughed. That tracked. What kind of laugh? I asked. The kind that makes you think you're already dead, the girl whispered. I nodded once. Everything lined up. Hale had been planning something long before I arrived. I'll make you a deal. You stay, you watch, you warn, I pay, you stay alive. The blonde one hesitated, then nodded. Name's Ash. Mercer. We'll take your deal, he said. Just don't treat us like disposable alarms. Don't act disposable, I said.
The med capsule. The first major purchase for my new base wasn't a weapon, a drone grid, or an armored door. It was a coffin. A medical one. A field-grade auto-dock capsule, something meant to keep a soldier alive on a battlefield long enough to reach a hospital, or to replace the hospital entirely when no help was coming. Harrow walked beside me across the cracked pavement of a forgotten storage yard. A shipping container sat on concrete blocks ahead, its doors marked with old military symbols faded almost to ghosts. "This is the one," Harrow said, tapping a code into the rusted padlock. "How long has it been sitting here?" I asked. 3 years, she said. "Internal abandoned a forward med stack in the expanse, too expensive to transport everything back. They marked half of it as non-critical salvage. And you got to it first." She grinned. "I usually do." The doors groaned open. Inside, wrapped in shock foam and dust, was a sleek medical capsule, smooth, armored, and unmistakably military. Even dormant, it radiated purpose. "Med capsule model 9A, Harrow said proudly. "Last generation field system before they made the hospital versions pretty. This one, she's ugly, but she'll save your life." The pod's lid was opaque, a narrow glass strip allowing a patient to see out, if they were conscious. "How functional?" I asked. She rapped her knuckles against the casing. "More functional than you," she said. "I've tested every subsystem. She'll stabilize you from almost anything short of dismemberment, maybe even that if you don't lose too many pieces." I nodded. "This is exactly what I need." "Of course it is," she said. "You're planning for a war." "I'm planning for a contingency," I corrected. "You're planning. Planning is what men do when they think they're going to live long enough to regret not planning." The workers loaded the capsule onto a flatbed. "I'll have it delivered to the node by nightfall. You can help me wire it tomorrow." "What do you need from me?" I asked. "A fusion tap. Don't even think about running this on district power. You'll trip the grid and send 6 bureaucrats into cardiac arrest." "I'll make it work." "I know you will. That's what scares me." The Mule. Vehicle yards in Avalon are like graveyards. Quiet at first glance, but nothing inside is truly dead. Some machines just wait for the right hands to wake them up. Grenko's yard lived under 2 decaying highways, a wedge of rust and half-disassembled carcasses. The sign outside flickered. "Grenko's surplus and salvage. If it rolled, we sold it, or will." Grenko himself was a shape cut from stone, broad, bearded, and wearing a coat made from something that looked like ballistic tarp. "Harrow said you finally want wheels," he said. "Miracles happen." "I need something armored," I said. "Something that doesn't fold if someone sneezes on it." "My favorite kind of customer," he said. "Means you know how often people sneeze with guns." He led me through rows of rust and regret. Vehicles missing doors, trucks missing frames, ex-military haulers with scorch marks from battles no one remembered. Then he stopped in front of a squat, angular thing with thick plating and a mean stance. "This," he announced reverently, "is a Model F9 Mule." It looked like a small personnel carrier and a freight tank. Heavy wheels, reinforced chassis, armor that looked scuffed but intact. "They use these for special teams," Grenko said. "Teams like yours." "I don't have a team," I said. "You used to," Grenko replied, "and Hale probably rode in one of these." I didn't answer. He already knew that he was right. "Fusion drive?" I asked. "Class 3 compact fusion pack. Governed for civil output, but Harrow can get you a bypass. This baby will run clean, run quiet, and run through half a ruined city without complaining." I opened the rear bay. Empty. No benches, just anchor points. A blank slate. Perfect. "What's wrong with it?" I asked. "Nothing," he said, "except the smell." Smell? It hauled corpses for 3 years. I climbed into the driver's seat. The controls were analog, tactile, solid, honest. I preferred honest machines. "How much?" I asked. He told me. It was expensive.
Not core expensive, but close. I'll take it. But I want the armor integrity scanned and patched before I roll it out. Any serials removed so thoroughly not even internal could find them. And I want the rear bay rewired from modular racks. Grenko scratched his beard. That's 3 conditions. They're a set. He laughed. You're a pain, but a rich pain. Deal. Upgrades and warnings. Harrow's workers delivered the med capsule. Grenko's crew stripped the Mule. I spent the rest of the day preparing Node 7 for a life it had never been meant to live. When I stepped into my armor, Harrow studied me with a mechanic's pride and a friend's worry. Last chance to keep pretending you're retired, she said. Never pretended, I replied. Fine, then let's make you harder to kill. Piece by piece, she attached upgrades. Segmented ceramic armor plates, reactive mesh reinforcement, an improved neural interface color, a grapnel launcher hidden in the left bracer, HUD overclocking, dangerous but useful in close calls. She circled me like a surgeon finishing a procedure. You look like a walking war crime, she said. That's the idea. Then her voice softened. Kade, Harrow said quietly, what's your actual plan? I met her gaze. Stay alive long enough to stop whatever Hale is building. That's not a plan, she said. It's a hope. It's what I've got. She hesitated before speaking again. He came here, you know. Hale? She nodded, walked into my forge, looked at the walls, examined the old ghost armor frame I keep, told me it's good to know the world still builds things that can take a punch. Then he left. My jaw clenched. You didn't tell me earlier. You were busy not dying, she said, and I didn't want you running after him half prepared.
Harrow crossed her arms, leaning against a crate, her expression caught somewhere between irritation and concern. Look, Kade, I didn't tell you about Hale walking into my shop because I didn't want you going off half-prepared and doing something stupid. You ghosts have a habit of treating suicide missions like warm-ups. I tightened a buckle on the side of my armor, testing the fit. I'm not going after him. Not yet. She raised an eyebrow. You say that like you believe it. I believe in being ready, and that's why I need one more favor. Harrow groaned. Oh, good. The man who just bought a house, a med capsule, and a war mule wants another favor. This should be sane. It is, I said. I need beds. She blinked. Beds. For the Ashline Boys. She stared at me like I'd suddenly sprouted a second head. You're building a barracks? For a gang? They're not a gang, I corrected. They're my perimeter now. If I'm going to have them running security and keeping the node quiet, they need a place to crash that isn't a pile of rusted furniture and trash fires. Harrow rubbed her temples. Oh, so now you're responsible. They're kids, I said. Most of them. And they're loyal if you give them something worth guarding. She huffed out a laugh. Never thought I'd live to see the day Kade Mercer adopts strays. They're already living in the building, I said. I'm just making it harder for them to die in it. Harrow set her drink down and tapped her mechanical eye twice, thinking. Fine, she said. I can source barracks-grade bed frames. Nothing fancy, but sturdy. Foam mats, heat-resistant blankets, storage crates they won't cut themselves on. I'll deliver enough for 6, maybe 8 if they stack. Good. She pointed at me with the tip of her wrench. But listen carefully. This is the last thing you get from me this week.
My shop is already working overtime because you decided to play house, buy a tank, and start building your own private security force. It's not a security force. It will be if you keep feeding them, and if Hale swings by again, I want plausible deniability. I don't need him thinking I'm helping you dig a moat. I nodded. I'll be careful. You better, she said quietly, because this, the base, the upgrades, the mule, the locks, the beds, the armory, this is the most roots I've ever seen you put down. And that means if you fall, the whole damn building might go with you. I paused. This isn't about roots. It's about leverage. She stared at me a long moment. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Mercer. The final hours of the day. By dusk, the node was a different creature. Ash and the Ashline Boys moved through the halls with purpose, clearing debris, patching leaks, sweeping floors that hadn't been cleaned since before the war. Laughter echoed faintly, strained, nervous, but real. Harrow's delivery truck arrived with the first half of the barracks frames. Heavy steel, simple, durable. Put 'em upstairs, I told Ash. Second floor, left side. Yeah, Mercer, this place is starting to feel real. Don't get attached, I said. Too late, he muttered. Later, Harrow returned with the armory lockers. Each one weighed enough to crush a small animal. Perfect. We bolted them into the sub-basement, each one sunk into the original fusion-shielded walls. The space felt different afterward. Less like a basement, more like a war room. A beginning. Not an ending. When Harrow finished the last weld, she stepped back and wiped her brow. Looks like a proper nest now. A violent one, a stupid one, but a nest. I looked around. The med capsule, resting quietly in the corner. The new lockers glinting under dim lights. The reinforced door. The fresh bolts in the walls. A foundation. For now. Harrow packed up her tools. Get some sleep, she said. You look like hell. I'll sleep after the walls stop talking. They won't, but you'll learn to ignore them. She headed out, pausing at the doorway. Kade, whatever Hale is planning, just don't fight him in here. I won't. Good, she whispered, because I don't want to rebuild this place from scratch. Then she was gone. I stepped outside. The sky over Avalon glowed faintly with neon reflection. Orange, blue, purple. The city hummed. The expanse breathed in the distance. The mule sat quietly in the yard, stripped but proud. The node stood behind me, new walls around old bones. I had a base now, a beginning, a place to stand. Hale's shadow still lingered at the edge of everything, but for the first time since leaving the Ghost program, I wasn't wandering. I was preparing. And preparations mean something in this world so broken. I turned off the exterior lights and stepped inside, locking the reinforced door behind me. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. But tonight, the walls held. And that was enough.
All right, recruits, that's the end of this operation. If you made it this far, congratulations. Most don't. But your mission isn't over yet. As part of your civic duty, and to keep this outfit running, you will now hit the like button. Not later, not when you remember, now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, well, that's desertion. Lock it in, subscribe, and stay in formation so you don't miss the next deployment. This is Mercenary Media, where stories bleed, shadows move, and legends are forged in fire and neon. Dismissed.